Line Tuesday, March 10th, 2020. It's patch day for March. We're going to go through the patch notes. Here with a bunch of friends. Fonsui, Caleb, Lichgrave, Spod, Tiberius is here. Anyway, you'll hear them. We'll try to introduce them as they start to talk. First observation is something that Caleb brought up. Caleb?
Well, I just think that the actual post is nice, with nice links to the actual forums where Dopamine is actually asking for the feedback, and people can actually take part in the communications and report bugs. And it's like almost as if this is back to the old days of patch notes and devlog.
Yeah, we should credit CCP Dopamine for this. He said he was working on it yesterday, and I can see the work, and I think it's terrific. You have a lot.
Could you just drop that link in chat for them at all?
Yeah, absolutely. It's also in links in my links chat, but I'm going to put it in there.
Yeah, it's a really cool thread.
Yeah, if you look at the beginning, there's this new section where it does the introduction, and it has links to Eve forums, which allows you to do general feedback or a different thread for known issues, and even a third thread for general feedback and known issues for Mac users, which is terrific.
It's for Matterall users.
Yeah, for Matterall users.
Yeah, for Matterall.
For people that want to use college dorm toys that are built for sharing printers, music, and porn.
Matterall, you should go and post in that thread just so your name is in there.
Dorm toys.
I mean, come on, rich kids' parents got to spend their money on something.
That's true. That's where I first ran into Macintosh, was in dorms. You're right.
Oh, man.
Printers, music, and porn. Like, this is what they're for.
Mac?
Which is also the essentials, right? As a geek, that's the essentials. That's life.
Yeah, you get into the dorm and you need to share your printers, your music, and your porn. And how are you going to do that? You get your rich parents to buy you a Mac, you plug it in, you turn it on, it does all that stuff for you, and you're good to go.
All right, let's get back to hilarious. Let's get back to Eve. So the threads are, as Caleb was saying, a little more complete. And even if you go to a general thread, let's just show you what happens if you follow that thread. It gives you a link right back through patch notes here. So this is just good work. This is good attention to detail by Dopamine. Good job.
Yeah, Dopamine and Convict have been killing it from day one. From the first we saw of Dopamine and the first we saw of Convict, they have been smashing. And that's not even fair to Convict, because he only became Convict just now, but he's been Bam Stoker for a decade or what, I don't know. Mm-hmm. And like, he's been behind every Aussie meetup. Like, if someone wanted to do a meetup in Australia, dude was there. So like, he was a shoe-in for that spot, and his attitude and his energy has been like clear. And Dopamine, like, I've actually worked directly with Dopamine on a couple of things, and he is like the chillest dude, and he wants to hear what you think. And like, this is exactly what you want in a community manager.
Yeah, I just have to agree with that, because both guys are, I think they're really, really good at what they do.
Very talented individuals.
Yeah, I mean, the guys before were good too, but these guys are just right there with them, so it's good.
I'm just going to do a Texas shooter fallacy again, because we talked about this on Push to Talk, and now we're seeing the results. I'm going to claim credit for this again.
Really? Why?
It's just because the things that we end up talking about for the last, I think, 3 or 4 weeks, pretty much the week following, CCP has actually acted on exactly that point. I think it's just coinciding, but it's pretty much been consistent. So we got our ecosystem scientists. Now we're getting proper communications. It's like, what's next? Titans being fixed?
Yeah, I can just see Caleb wiggling his nose. But yeah, no, this is a really good job. Like, it's such a good thread.
Take the credit if you can get it. Okay, let's get into full notes for March release 2020. The very first thing up is graphics change to the moons, so you can see them a little better in the dark. This one says, update to textures and shaders associated with moons. Moons will have a higher resolution textures and updated shaders.
Thank you, 64-bit client.
Right.
This is a troll from CCP, right? This is the art team coming in, doing a hold my beer moment, and just squeezing in front of all the changes that's been announced. Because no, we didn't get those today. We get the graphics first. It's like, what the fuck?
It's like just before we make you never want to see moons again, we're gonna want to make you look at moons a lot.
They're burying the lead, is what you're saying. They're starting out with the small stuff because what's next is bigger. One thing, though,
I feel buttered up.
Moon fracking with higher resolution textures, right? Because when you pull something out of the moon, it has a crater for a while.
It does, yeah.
I wonder what that's going to look like with the heightened graphics.
I have to go look at my moons now.
I should be clear. All my rage is tongue in cheek. We all know what the resource changes are for, and like why this is happening, and why it's for the good, etc., etc. But like, we still have to joke about how shitty it's going to be.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's get to the big news in this one, and that is the market changes.
Thank God. I have only waited for this since 2004. So okay, good job. Not perfect, but good fucking job.
All right. Let's start out with telling them what's in here, and then we can discuss it. So the first order of business is significant changes to the fee updating market orders have been implemented as described in Broker Relations dev blog. A little backstory on that. There was a dev blog called Broker Relations that talked about these changes, and I think more changes. These are just the first set of them. And what they've done is essentially increase the fees for changing or editing your order, which makes it more expensive. They have also increased the tax on all structures that players own to a 0.5% tax that the game will take out. So everybody that owns a structure is going to lose that 0.5% tax. And I think there was a third thing, but let's go through the first one here.
There's a lot, right? It's a quite detailed one and fairly technical. The overall and most important things are kind of, well, you've mentioned most of them, but the margin trade skill being removed or repurposed, right? The fact that they're bringing in these fees to combat what's pretty much been called penny bidding. And I know that Lichgrave and myself has been kind of applauding the fact that they even had Investopedia links in that actual dev block, right? Because that's just nice to see that you're doing a change to something market related and you're using technical terminologies and you're actually linking and explaining why you're doing this. It's just so nice, and I'm very happy. It's not the perfect solution, but it's very close.
Can I just agree with Arya here in chat? It says Caleb sounds happy.
every time the market stuff comes up, Caleb like lights up like a light bulb, and it's really nice to see.
Well, when it's good news.
I've been happy for a while, and I was happy since Hilma came back. I'm pretty sure that Merrill can attest to this. I was pretty much claiming that Daddy's back. Well, now he's actually been doing the work that he needed to do to actually fix the game to go back to the thing that it was in the past, right? And to a point where even the CSM is pretty much applauding him for explaining what it is that they're doing now.
Yeah. Okay, let's get into this and answer some questions and get through the material. So, of course, we'll start with significant changes to fees. Should I just read this so that people know what's actually there? Okay. Silence says yes. Updated all.
Means go ahead.
Updated all existing market tax structure ACLs. That's access lists. Settings to a new mandatory minimum of 1%. Wait a minute. That's a mandatory 1%.
Yeah, it's to split the fact that you can at the minimum do the lowest price possible for fees is 1%, and half of that is automatically taken by CCP.
Okay.
Basically, I'm expecting, if you remember, everyone was just racing to the bottom when it came to these fees because there was no real incentive to do anything else, right? So everyone just crashed the price.
What was the problem
and then
with
stayed
that?
down there.
But what was the problem?
Well, actually, it had stabilized and began rising. It had been set down. So at first there were a couple 0-0 markets. Eventually,
that's
that
zero
became
tax
ones.
markets,
and then. Right. And then that became ones, and then that became threes. And three is kind of where it sat for a while, and like that triumvirate of organizations that were operating, or at least reaping the benefits of the Tranquility Trade Tower and associated structures, they had made a quote unquote promise of locking it at point of three. It eventually, there were some changes that made them raise it to five, quietly, obviously, but that was creeping up. And it probably would have stayed at 5 for a while longer, but now it's going to be whatever they're going to make it, because what is it? It's a 0.5% that's always goes to the system, and then the minimum that they can set for themselves is a 0.5%, I believe.
Yep.
Yeah. So what you're
hold on before we explain
it.
Sorry, Lich Gray, let me cut in there. That was Francois that was just talking when he was saying 1 to 3 to 5. Those were percentages of tax that he was talking about. And let me just dive into this a little bit further. Now, this goes really deep, and we can probably table this, but I do want to talk about the cartelization of markets. If you had a structure that was putting stuff at 1% and the going powers had it at 3%, they would destroy your structure. And what some people would do is, because they were wealthy enough, they would put up a structure and say 0 tax, which meant you could put up an order and change the order with 0 tax. And that allowed somebody to undercut any profit that the bigger cartel institutions were trying to get. And so what they ended up doing was going to war for a long time, and then they decided to broker a peace that everybody would get a piece of the pie. And then you had basically a monopolization of pricing that went from 3% to now 5% is where it's sitting now. So that's why you're paying 5% at player structures. And anybody who's not up to 5% gets destroyed, at least in the hub areas.
And the important part of this is that it was so sensitive to Plex trading, right? It was fundamentally driven by the Plex trade and the fees on that.
Yeah,
so
RMTs,
everyone raced
right.
to the so everyone raced to the bottom, and then it became the only way to remove your competition was through actual aggression. What you will see now, because Plex is not going to be this stupid traded thing, you're going to see that there's going to be cartelization and almost monopolization, where the convenience tax is what you're going to pay. I would expect to see TTT actually be the more expensive hub, because this is where most of the trades will take place, right? So they will maybe allow more competitors to actually evolve and find their price finding area. And then you're going to see some serious, real market shenanigans and market competition.
The TTT is the Tranquility Trading Center, which is owned by Test, and they give a portion of their profits to Horde. That was the deal that was brokered, and to Goons a little bit, and to the other merchants that were in the area that could constantly cause them trouble. So that's the main trade hub the main player trade hub off of Jita. Go ahead, Fonso, then we need to go back to Lich.
Yeah, sure. So as we discussed, since the leapfrogging is essentially going to be eliminated and positions are going to be solidified, both sell positions and buy positions on the standing orders, that's going to lock people out of the initial regional markets, and markets are going to have to spread out, to other regions. People will begin taking positions up in regions outside of the Forge or outside of, other popular markets. And what we can expect to see is that the other hubs that previously were vital and are now largely fallow will probably be the first ones to pop up again, and most likely the pioneer item is going to be Plex, because of the ability to make Plex appear anywhere in the game safely. You can pull and push Plex, pretty much anywhere, and nothing else in the game can do that. So I would expect pilot Plex markets to begin appearing where markets used to be, and then those markets will grow to include other items slowly, obviously the most easily transferred ones, and after that we'll start to see markets in other areas as well.
Quick point, in these trade hubs, the real money is in what's called RMT items, and that would be your Plex, your skill injectors, and sometimes your what do they call that thing where you can train a second character?
Well, so the category that I put them in is the commodities, essentially, and that category is extractors, injectors, certs, Plex, and hypercores. Those
hypercores.
items
Yeah.
together, yeah. So those items are essentially like a market index. Like if you pull up the graphs for a year for each of those individual items and you scale them appropriately against each other, then they will almost perfectly work in lockstep with each other. And what you will see is there will be slight areas of deviation for a day or a week or a month between them. And those deviations are where the people who have stockpiles in all of these items are able to arbitrage between them and go long or short on something and, come out way ahead. Either they sell something and then rebuy it when it drops, or they buy something before, while after it drops. Like, there's a lot of opportunity to profit when you have these stockpiles and you watch these items. I'm sorry, Dunk. Like I use the word commodity, and I know the commodity is an in-game specific definition, and I didn't mean to tread on that, but you know what I mean.
We'll break this apart just a little bit more. The idea that these are the commodities, as Fonsway has called them, is different in the game. The game has commodities that are just NPC stuff that you can buy and sell and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I apologize for that.
Sorry, we call it RMT just to keep it separate because it's related to real money. So that's real money trading or real money transactions. And CCP has those in the game when they're the ones trading to you. It becomes illicit and bad when a player is trading in-game items for real money. That is not allowed. So there's totally a illegal gray and black market, and then there's the RMT market that actually is legit.
Giving CCP money for Plex is real money trading, except that's allowed real money trading.
Yeah, and so these items that trade for actual money are what you were saying is they're all related to one another because it's like the price of gold will set the price of other precious minerals because they're all related. So Plex and things that relate to Plex and real money are all going to be kind of tied to its waves as it goes up. It'll force the pressure for other things that are related to go up as well. Okay, we kind of got off track a little bit, but we're talking about that stuff because that's the real money maker for these trading towers that players own, and their tax just went up because now there's a minimum of 0.5% tax that the game is going to take. It didn't happen before, but it is now. And they are not allowed to price it at 0. So the minimum that they can price it at is a 0.5%. Take those two things together, and you have the minimum 1%. Half goes to the game, half goes to the player. That is the minimum for market tax. Sorry, Lichgrave, we kind of ran over you on that one. Do you have anything to add?
No, I mean, you're just going to see as always, the price gets pushed to the consumer, right? So you're going to see it was 5.5% before. Now you're going to see it go to 1%. It's most likely going to be moved to whatever percentage is required to maintain that income,
Anytime we talk about market stuff, I try to go before Lichgrave because I feel like he should have the last word.
Anyway, so the idea, though, is that NPC stations are still more expensive than the players. Otherwise, the players wouldn't be able to attract business. And the NPCs are always stable. They're always the same tax. What is the tax rate for NPCs these days?
It should be
an easy question.
I know it should be, but I don't know what. Actually, I don't know anymore because
does anyone know?
Stuff has changed.
Well, the taxes went up from 3% to 5%. I thought that was the last I heard of them.
Also, broker relations.
It's 3% sales tax and 2%.
Okay,
I believe.
No, I think it's the other way around. Actually, well, I mean, like I'm seeing brokers fee at 3.8 and sales at 2.8. But
okay, so it's not as simple as 3 or 5%. It's a combination of things.
The total should be like 5%.
Yeah, that's
found the article. It's 5% sales tax and 5% broker's fee.
Okay,
right.
Without skills and
right. That's what we'll start with. Well, now that's interesting because the skills that you have if you're working at an NPC station will reduce your tax burden. In player structures, how do those skills kick in?
They shouldn't.
They don't, right?
But they shouldn't. But Now I need to read the definitions of
Your
the.
skills will apply to the sales tax, but not the broker tax in a player-owned structure.
Yeah. The sales tax is something that's always there.
I wonder if it affects this 0.5. Well, anyway, we'll need to look into it.
Interesting thing is that you're going to potentially start seeing phase 2 of what structure should have pretty much been doing since day one. You've already seen now that the majority or the bulk of the raw material trade has been moved to player-owned structures, right? So now also the end product should also start being sold out of player-owned structures, especially, first Tech 1, really.
Yeah.
And then you're going to slowly see only retail or mainly retail shifting to locations like Jita. It's basically going to be your retail shop only, because if you want anything in bulk, you're going to go for a player-owned structure.
Right. To answer the question before that, Olmeca CSM member says skills do not reduce that tax. I think he's referring to the 0.5% tax.
Okay. Yeah, there you go.
Okay, let's move on. We can come back to this. This is, again, huge change.
The broker relations update in and of itself, I would say, could be a whole show.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
we might want to
Yeah, let's move on. Next is when charging fees for creating, modifying, and order the Upwell structure, in an Upwell structure, half the fee will go to the structure owner and the other half will go to MPC ISK Sync. Okay, so that's a modifying charge, right? No, a creating charge as well.
Olmeca says that they do reduce, by the way. He corrected us.
Okay.
Okay.
That's interesting.
Okay, so your skills do apply to on that. What do you make of this, though? When charging fees for creating and modifying an order in an Upwell structure, half the fee will go to the structure owner, the other half will go to an NPC sync.
This is good. I mean, this is just another one of those things where you have, it was just this thing where. So people talk a lot about inflation in the game, and looking at ISK velocity and the amount of ISK in the game. Inflation is not really a problem. It was just velocity that was technically the issue, and only in specific parts of the game. But regardless, this is just another way of creating or just putting in a sync where it got taken away from. Players were enjoying the full profits, and that was being taken away from NPCs, which was a natural sync to the game, and that got removed, and so re-implementing it in some way is good.
I don't think I understand this change. They get... So this is fees for creating, and that's the part I get caught up on, and modifying an order on an Upwell structure.
So a sell order.
Yeah, a sell order. Either you're...
a standing order. A standing order.
Well, a sell order. So generating a sell order and then modifying a sell order, you get that applied.
Or a standing buy.
Okay, it gets...
Yes.
Either standing order as opposed to an immediate order.
All right, so nothing's changed here. This was expected as far as the patch notes that they...
It means that there's also going to be a massive ISK sync and a potential profit for modifications, right? This is maybe the most important one, because this is the one that counters what's been called the leapfrogging, right? In the past, leapfrogging was completely meaningless as an ISK sync, because you're basically modifying 0.01 ISK and it costs you 1,000 ISK, even though your order is like 10 billion, right? So nothing really got sunk out there. Now, with the fact that these increments are in thousands only, and the fee is actually going to be part of that, you're actually going to see that it's almost like removing an order and re-enlisting it, right? So this is just going to explode in potential things, because if you want to actually compete on the market, you're also going to be paying a sync.
Dunk simplified it for us. He says that they increased the broker fees to make or change an order, and now half of those fees go to the ISK sync.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. I thought it was going to be 0.5, so that's an interesting change. I must have misunderstood it. Like 0.5%, and then after that, it was all the player's profit. But that's interesting. So I want to just...
That's in the broker fee part.
That's the tax.
Gotcha.
That's the
tax
previous
part,
item. Yeah, the bullet point above the one you have highlighted is that.
All right. Thank you, Olmeca Gold and Dunk Dinkle, two CSM members who are here answering questions in chat. We'll read them out as they give us more information on this so we can understand this as well as possible. Okay, so the reason I'm confused is one is the market tax and the other one is the broker fees.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Those two things apply always. They always have, and they continue to apply when you make when you do actions on the market. Next is when creating and updating an order, the price will always be rounded to a tick level with a maximum of 4 significant figures. This is the part that I like.
So that's from the from the beginning of the number, from the left side of the number, count to 4, and that's the digit that you can change.
Give us
The
an
lowest
example.
digit that you can change.
Fonzie, give us an example.
So if you have 1 million, right? So that's 1,000,000,000. So it's 7 digits. So if you take the 1, that's your first digit, and then 000, that's your fourth digit, and that is the thousands column. So a million ISK order can be modified in increments of 1,000. A 10 million ISK order can be modified in increments of 10,000. A 100 million ISK order can be modified in increments of 100,000.
So the bigger the order, the higher the increment that you can move it. You can't move it 0.1% like people used to. You have to move it.
It basically means that if there's a bidding war going on say the sell side, right? Mm-hmm. When 100 changes or 100 competitions have been made, the price will have changed 10%.
Yeah. Oh, our friend Cheetah is saying should read all the bullet points so that they all make sense together. I think we're okay.
Oh,
that's all right. Well, let's go to the next one, and then we can come back and see if it all makes sense. When modifying a market order, the fee now includes an extra relist fee component, which is dependent on the new order price, not just the difference between the new and the old prices. And it has a formula for that. I'll read that again. When modifying a market order, the fee now includes an extra relist fee component, which is dependent on the new order price, not just the difference between the new and old prices.
I'll be honest, I squinted at this formula enough so it got fuzzy, said it's okay, and moved on.
It's comparing. It's basically what it's doing is it's basically saying that what you're going to pay is based off of the original listing price, the listing price that exists now, what you're going to be changing it to, and modified by this new tax that they implemented with the advanced broker relations and the current broker relations tax. That's it.
Yeah, this is according to Olmeca Gold, the relist fee is the big one.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
Mm-hmm.
Can you guys?
That does add up.
That's the big fee that you're talking about. So
yeah.
So what this does is this. So there's a couple of components here creating a perfect storm. So you have the significant digits, right? So first you have the initial cost. So it's a little bit more expensive to put up to begin with. Then you have the significant digits, which means that the more expensive something is, the larger the order, the value of the order is, the more it costs you every single time. You want to update it because you gotta go a little bit higher than you were before. You're not doing 0.01, and then on top of all of that, every single time you make an update, the price you pay a whole bunch of ISK, way more than you used to, just to make that change. And all this kind of adds up together and creates a situation where people will not want to leapfrog each other. They will take a position and hold a position, and that will kind of solidify the market as it is in the Forge, which is where everything happens. And all of a sudden, all those market positions in regions outside of the Forge will now become relevant and desirable.
Okay, so Dunk Dinkle says it means it is prohibitive to change orders. It's moved. Prohibited to changing the price. How do you make this stop scrolling? It means it is prohibited to stop changing the price and buy and sell orders of the buy and sell orders. So basically, you're getting hit with fees.
You just can't skip the queue. If you want to get the buy order, you have to actually bid.
Yep.
To get the buy order.
Okay.
Sorry, Caleb.
No, it's fine. It's just you can't do the whole old skipping queue, right? Where you basically pushed yourself in front of everyone else with only 0.01 ISK, and then you got the buy order filled, right? Now you actually have to compete with the current price at least by 1,000. It's really a non-issue. It doesn't change anything for people that actually want to buy.
Let me throw a question
Yep,
out
and-
from. Oh, go ahead.
Sure. Oh, so I was going to say that this, in combination with the fact that the next bullet point you're going to hit, the margin trading, means that if you want something, you got to put all the ISK down for it, and we'll get into that in a moment.
Yeah.
Combine all those together, and what that means is that putting down taking a position means you really mean it. You're not a casual marketeer. You are a marketeer. This is what I do. I make the market move. And what this is going to do is it's going to squelch out guys like me who use the market casually. I use standing orders. I use standing buys. I use standing sells because I can, because it's easy, because I can 0.01. But I don't deserve to be able to use standing orders as a casual marketeer. That's not my profession, and I'm getting all of the benefit. That's not fair.
Okay.
So when it changes, it'll actually matter.
Thanks.
It just changed.
Thanks.
But yeah.
Thanks for that analysis. Let me go back to a question here because it's a basic question, but I want you guys to try to answer it. So how many times can we repost till it is no longer profitable?
That is 100% dependent on what you're moving.
And your stack size.
And really your personal risk reward analysis, or what's that term that you keep throwing around, Fonsui, constantly now? What's it?
In reference to?
This is cost benefit analysis. Yeah, it's just your
That's
cost
more of an
benefit
action
analysis.
All right.
No, fair, but that's
let me
personal.
break you guys up here. So the actual point, just a high level view of this, it's becoming more expensive to put stuff on the market and to adjust your price to stay competitive. Therefore, your decisions have to be much better planned in advance to keep yourself from losing profits by trying to keep up with price shifts.
Yeah, and people who try to heavily undercut or heavily overcut end up getting punched in the gut.
Okay.
Right? So you can't just slash the price in half and be okay with it. You're actually going to take a really big tax hit because of it.
Right. It also means there is no ratio that we can determine at this point. You might look at the formula and figure it out for yourself if there is one where it stops becoming profitable to make adjustments. But it used to be that you were taking, well, it depends. If you were going down, it was no loss really. But if you were going up, it was an increased percentage of the profit. So if I put something up at 1 million, and then I said, I need to change this to 2 million because it's starting to be scarce, I would take a small percentage of the tax and it would, or the margin fee, but it was very small and you could easily get away with it. I think it was like 3% or 5%, right around there. But now we're talking much steeper fees for making adjustments. And the more adjustments you make up or down, the more it's going to cost you. So I don't know if it's 10 adjustments and then you have no profit, or 20 adjustments, then you have no profit. We don't know what that ratio is. It depends on a lot of things. Okay, so let's move on to the second part of this, which is a little bit of a killer for some people. And this is the change for the margin trading skill. I think I can explain this one. I'll read it first. The margin trading skill has changed its name and function. It is now called Advanced Broker Relations. The skill will increase the relist discount rate from 50% at 0 to 75% at level 5. And let me break it down further. The skill rank is unchanged at 3. An additional requirement of Broker Relations level 4 has been added. Characters who already have advanced broker relations but do not have this new requirement will still be able to use advanced broker relations. Train and use.
The rank 3 thing refers to the amount of skill points in this skill. So they're saying if you didn't have it trained, it's going to take the same as before. If you did have it trained, your skill point total doesn't change.
Okay, last point for this. The skill no longer allows want to buy orders to be created with anything less than 100% escrow. Existing less than 100% escrow orders will remain until they expire complete, but they cannot be extended any more time. So that is a grandfathering clause for everything that's on the market right now that doesn't have the full amount put up for it. We'll get into that in just a second. Let's go back to this beginning here. The margin trading skill has changed its name. I was looking for it today and couldn't find it till these guys helped me out. Advanced Broker Relations is what it's called, and it is essentially a tax break on the change orders. Sound right?
Mm-hmm. That's exactly
it. This is enforcing the new change fee. So you now have to train this to make that change fee less, so that you're able to compete with all the other people that have trained this.
For people who are coming late to the game and who are viewing this in the future, what did the margin trading skill do before?
The margin trading skill made it so that when you placed a buy order, you didn't have to put the 100% amount of ISK down. So say I wanted to set up a buy order for 100 million ISK. Well, I didn't have to put down the full 100 million ISK. I could set up 25 million ISK instead. And I would still be able to put down the order as if I was putting up 100 mil in escrow. So it basically kind of created like this almost fake money.
Yeah. It allowed you to over leverage yourself.
Yeah.
Right. And so
it was virtual cash.
Yeah, and so what people would do is that so the way that the skill then worked is that the only time you would still have to pay the full price when somebody sold to you. It's just that you would only have to do that when they sold to you, as opposed to up front.
COD.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it was a credit, as Cheetah says. It was a credit from the facility.
Yeah, it was a credit.
Right. So if I wanted to buy something that cost 1 million ISK, I would only have to put up 250,000 ISK to put that order up. And then when it was sold to me, I would have to come up with the other 750,000 ISK to get the item.
It's actually 254,000. For some reason, it lowered it. The percentage is not directly 20.
Yeah, but I'm just trying to get the concept across. And then
yeah.
So I only had to put up a quarter of it, and I owed the other 75% of it until the item arrived and the person was ready to sell it to me. And then I had to come up with the other 3/4, 75% of that order at that time. And that allowed me to put up multiple orders on different items, let's say, without having all the cash necessary to buy all the things that I wanted. It was basically a credit line from the facility, and that is all gone away. So now
it allowed you to hedge your bets.
Right.
You were able to place orders in different locations. You were able to place multiple orders that supported leapfrogging. There were all sorts of other things that it allowed. One thing in particular that this margin skill allowed was the margin variant of the bait and switch scam, which we won't get into detail necessarily.
Yes. We did that on a different show.
It allowed you, it allowed this was one method that allowed players to scam other players into buying something that they were then stuck with for way, way more than it's worth. And that is that particular variant of this is now gone.
Right. Okay. But the idea that you could kind of get credit from the facility, I really like the way that Cheetah put it. Get credit from the facility to allow yourself to overextend your purchasing power. That concept from the game is gone and replaced. What you have to do now is if I want to buy something that cost 1 million ISK, I cannot put up 1/4 of it to put that order there. I have to put up the full amount. There is no credit. So if I want it, I have to put up 1 million credits or 1 million ISK for that item that cost 1 million ISK. And then and then that money sits there waiting for the order to be filled. So I am now out that money. I can't use it for other things. So
which slows down the market.
It also makes it harder for people who are cash strapped to put up a lot of orders and overextend themselves. They can only extend themselves to the amount of cash that they actually have on hand. Which is interesting.
But this is also not entirely true. They can still do that. They just need to actually have the liquid. But they can still, if they are asset rich in some way or have stuff that they don't necessarily need on the market, they can go back to the secondary markets and actually take loans with other players. So it's not like they can't get hold of the liquid ISK if they want
take
to.
loans
That's
from
how
other
people
players.
It was
that's how people did it in the past.
It wasn't but it's not an internal game mechanic anymore, is I think the point that's trying to be made.
I like that pawn shop idea, Caleb. That's kind of what that is.
It's been used in the past because once you reach a certain plateau as a trader, the margin trade thing is not really that effective because you kind of want liquid ISK as well to be able to have rather big positions and many positions. So as you grow and diversify, you have a huge benefit from actually being able to take out loans as well. And especially because sometimes you actually need the liquids because you're going to try and trim the markets because you're correcting the current sells that are too cheap.
Wow, that is... I think I understood what you were saying, but I don't know if new players would understand it. But anyway, the idea is that if you want something, you have to put up the cash to buy something, whether you buy it instantly or you buy it in a buy order that is waiting for it, the fulfillment of that order. So the point is that you're going to be, unless you have friends that you could say, here's some items, loan me some cash so I can do some business. Unless you have that arrangement with people, you're basically limited to whatever cash you have on hand. So that margin trading, the whole concept of margin trading has completely shifted and changed in EVE Online.
The classic example from the past would be if you knew that a big conflict was brewing or close at hand, what you would want to do was to trim things like the Mexilon market because that usually spiked heavily. So you would take out loans and get in on a bigger positions than you actually had liquids to cover. So that's one example of what you would do with loans.
That was to me. Okay, so Dunk Dinkle was kind of laughing at loans, and let me just say that to me is one of the most interesting aspects of EVE Online is how players situate themselves and how creative they can
Dunk
be.
often laughs at things that he's not been participating in, but it was a massive thing in the secondary markets, and the number of loans and the size of the loans was considerable.
Yeah,
even internally, like within Corps. Anyway.
Well, fundamentally, an investment fund is also a loan, right? And I basically took out a loan of 1 trillion when I started my mutual investment fund. So him laughing at loans is just ludicrous.
Everybody was paid back? You didn't rip off people?
Yeah, everyone was. A few of the late investors took a loss because I didn't have enough to actually cover everything. But all of the first and second portion of investors all got all their money back or actually made a profit.
Yeah. Well, this kind of market positioning is just super interesting. It's to me, it's half the game. The market is half the game. And now they're making some incredible adjustments to it that make it more deliberate. And that is a good thing. So you're going to see it slow down as far as the amount of interactions you'll have to do with the market. You won't have to watch your market and sit on them and watch and what used to happen.
Can I just point out to Dunk that anyone taking a Titan as collateral over the past 5 years would have been considered an idiot in the secondary markets because nothing is depreciated as Titans.
Okay, well, let me get past this point. The idea, the overall concept is that the market is slowing down and becoming more deliberate. In the past, you could over leverage yourself, and you could also sit on orders and just change them by 1 cent, which is ridiculous. It's a completely worthless amount. But what it's doing is positioning you to be at the top of the heap, right? Because there's orders that are constantly being changed to stay on top because people will sell to the first order, not the third or the fourth or the sixth or even the 10th or 15th or the 100th. So they want to sell to that top order because it's just easier to click on the top order. It's usually it's the cheapest price. So people would compete for that spot and that spot only. And that would mean that people would sit there and change every 5 minutes, which was the minimum amount of time you had to wait, 1 cent on the ISK, which is, again, a worthless change. So that business has gone because those changes now can't be made very rapidly. If they are, you're depleting your profit. So that means that people will make much more calculated and deliberate choices in the market, which that's what I mean by it's going to slow it down. People will put in at a price and they'll sit on it for a while. They won't adjust it because they don't want to take the fee hit.
to answer the contracts question, I do think that there might be an opportunity for contracts to develop because there might be some benefits from the fee stuff. But fundamentally, it's back to the whole bulk trading and big item trading is fundamentally still going to be mostly by contacting someone and asking if they actually want to buy stuff and then just delivering them to them directly, right? So I don't think the contract market is going to be massive, but it could change. But it would have to get saturated. That's the main problem with contract markets, because if I'm not able to browse through actual good deals, there's no need for a contract market. And with the current UI, it's just cancerous and dumb, and I wouldn't bother. If we got a really nice upgrade to the UI, I think something like contracts would be massive, and especially if CCP considered creating a mechanic contract type that can actually handle collateralized loans, right? That's really something that I would like to see.
Right. Well, something along the lines of a Hypernet relay,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Well, I would put a loan contract in the Hypernet relay just because that's a good place to get that whole thing started. And then they can consider actually moving all of contracts into something like that UI eventually.
Oh, that would be a delicious change. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that new UI is really flashy.
Let me just represent Dunk Dinkle on here a minute because he said something. Let's see if I can find it. Here it is. Slow market equals slow production equals less stuff blowing up. That's his observation. He can't represent himself here at the same speed you can, but just what do you guys have to say about that?
So just to address that, production does not change. Production never is adjusting to demand. EVE Online players are notorious for overproduction constantly. So no, your people will always overproduce.
Well, they have slowed production with the mineral changes.
This is Miso that just talked?
Yeah.
Yes, but that's
so they've slowed down the market and they slowed down the production.
Right. But they had, but fundamentally, the point was being made by Dunk, which is if the market slows down, the production slows down, which is not correct.
Dunk's follow-up point is getting materials is harder and reduces profit and incentive to build.
Yes, that is true.
So wouldn't that slow down production?
That would, but that's not. Again, that is a follow-up point. So yeah, his full statement is correct.
I don't know about it equaling less destruction. I mean, there's always going to be people who want to. Like, there's always going to be people who want to get their share of what's yours, right? The pirates.
It will lower destruction only slightly. But I don't see it with just the large amounts of ships and materials and things that we have that you won't really see that. Really, not right now.
Well, let's table the rest of this for another day so we can go through market stuff. As you can see, it's a big change. The ramifications aren't completely clear right now, but we will see if this has overall ecological changes in that it slows down production, and it slows down because production is slower, slows down PvP. I think what it may do, Caleb, this is something we talk about a lot, is it may make things more valuable that already exist because they're harder to produce. And therefore value makes people attacking value or defending value makes the stakes higher, which makes the thrill higher, I think. So who knows like what the secondary and third effects are from these changes, but we'll find out in the future.
I can burn the Terracide down into a very short list.
Oh, good. You take this next section.
It's a long list, and it doesn't need to be. It's a lot of detail.
Okay.
So basically what's happened here is the capacitor boosters, the items that take capacitor booster charges and give you capacitor directly, which obviously is a limited resource and very commonly used in PvP, these have all been quote-unquote Terracided. What this means is that the way it used to be was that there was a meta 1, 2, 3, and 4. The meta level described the relative power of an item. It's a stat that's not immediately visible, but if you just look at the attributes, you can see. So there were meta 0. That's all the flat tech 1 items. There's meta 1, 2, 3, 4, and one was progressively better than the next. So no one, but they were all cheap. So no one ever used the low meta ones. Everyone just used the meta 4 and walked away. This is generally the rule. Sometimes they were all the same. Sometimes, there's a bunch of, things that used to be different, but then there were mechanical changes that caused them all to be the same. The point is that in this particular case, capacitor boosters were not properly itemized. They were kind of all over the place. There was a lot of duplication, a lot of unnecessary, stuff like that, and missing items, bad stats. So they have now reviewed all of these items, removed the ones that are unnecessary and converted them into other types that were identical. They have now looked at the ones that remained and restatted them where necessary so that the entire line makes sense, and have adjusted the meta levels accordingly.
Okay. Wasn't there a guy buying up a bunch of meta modules?
So someone is doing some sort of, I don't know if it's a manipulation or a troll, but someone is like trying to trim a lot
that
of the
happens
meta
once
items.
in a while.
It's always funny to see when they're doing this. Usually it's because they're trying to do a manip, but this is not really a proper manipulation because they're not punching a hole in the market. So it's not like what you usually see. This is someone just buying up to a certain price level and then just going to the next meta level and meta item, and they've been doing this all day. I'm not sure exactly what their plans are. I can't see how this is profitable.
The weird part is some of the items they've straight bought out the entire market, even the unusually high priced version.
So meta modules are a unique thing. So meta modules, generally speaking, only come. So that refers, by the way, meta modules specifically refers to items with a meta level between 1 and 4, because meta 5 is tech 2 and meta 0 is tech 1. So we're talking about meta 1, 2, 3, and 4 items. These items, generally speaking, cannot be produced in the game. You have to get them as a drop from a rat randomly. And these are the compact modules and the scoped modules and the restrain modules and these types of things that have those special attributes on them. So some of them are very good choices that have less requirements or fitting than Tech 2 and more effectiveness in Tech 1. They become extremely desirable, and since they are so unreliable to get or so difficult to get, what we end up with is certain types of these items end up very expensive. For instance, one perfect example of this is the compact ballistic control system. This item is like 5 million ISK or something. The Tech 2 is cheaper than that significantly, and the Tech 1 is cheaper than that significantly. It's just difficult to get. So these are what we mean when we talk about meta items, and why people may manipulate them on the market. It's because they're extremely desirable and very spotty availability.
Although what Matarol was alluding to is quite different to what's been going on in what you're saying. It was the items that are generally quite ignored and below 5,000 ISK, they're very cheap, very unpopular.
Those are being bought up for scrap.
I would agree with you, except for they've been bought up for 10, 20, 30, 40 times the market rate at a extortionate price that would completely write out any thought of it could being for scrap.
When you asked the guy that was doing the buying, what did he say?
He said he was going to buy a mass, and it's just a joke. Whether or not that's true is up to you.
Yeah.
What I mean is,
doesn't sound right.
There are a lot of instances currently of people buying and or farming meta modules specifically for the purpose of reprocessing for minerals.
But today there's been a particular individual, possibly more than one, that has been hunting down a significant chunk of the market of these items and just completely buying them out for no particular reason. They've not been relisted, and they're being bought at many times their mineral price. So it's definitely not for reprocessing.
So for the memes today.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Possibly.
All right.
So it's likely explanation.
Anyway.
Thank you. That's a great explanation there, Fonsway, on these capacitor booster tier side.
I really didn't want to get caught in the weeds on this because it's a lot of data and people can dig in and see all the details are all laid out. They can read the notes themselves. I wanted to kind of give the 10-mile overview on what happened.
That's all we want from that. So I'll just read this though. All market orders for the affected modules will be removed. So if you have these for sale somewhere, they will be removed. And the modules and escrow will be returned to the character who created it. So they're not going to let you keep it up on there. Since the module is changing, it gets wiped out from the market and you just get reimbursed.
There are two little notes there with regard to this change, the tier side. One is the meta. So if you actually, you're right there on screen. Meta level changes down at the bottom. So meta levels for these modules, as well as the higher meta level modules within these groups, have been adjusted so that they're in line with everything else. These levels that you see, so meta 1 through 4 has been quote unquote tier-sided, and they're all now meta 1, and they make sense. Storyline meta 7 to 6 because storyline is supposed to be 6. Faction meta 7 to 8 because that's what it's supposed to be. And the officers, I imagine, those are all regular officer meta levels, but it appears that they're just simply adjusting them to match, to more accurately represent their power levels.
In other words, it's not 13, 14, 15. It's 13, 15, 17 because they're actually a lot more powerful.
Right.
Than just one change.
And with regard to this, you're going to find one more bullet point lower down that's actually should have been here. And that is that all of the variations tabs, when you open the info box, the dialog box for an item, one of the tabs says variations, and it lists all the different types of that exact item of that size, if they're a sized item. There have been recent tier-asides, as well as this one, where the variations tab was not actually updated, where there were still unpublished modules that remained on that tab, and people were trying to buy them. They were putting them in fittings, they were putting them in the compare window. So that's actually been removed, and that's been fixed. The variations tab is now accurate on previous tier-asides and this tier-aside.
Cool. Okay, shall we go on? So that's tier-aside.
Yeah, so you can skip that point when you get to it.
Yeah. Okay. So miscellaneous. Savior implant blueprints have been added to the Angel Cartel loyalty point store and lootable tables.
These are the implants that were dropping from the recent Guardians Gala event. They're the ones that make sub-capital shield and armor remote repairs faster. So they make you use cap faster, they make you spit out reps faster. There's a low, mid, and high grade set.
Very cool. There are 3 new level 2 missions. That's news to me. Anyone know where they are?
I looked for them. I dug through 2020 string changes on Hobo Leaks today, trying to find these missions, and they are not stupid in there.
Okay, so we can't find them. If you find them, let us know.
I mean, apparently, I guess they're there. Like, I looked at that and I'm like,
oh no, they're there, but they're not in the strings. Like, yeah, we're gonna have to find them.
Well, the Hobo Leaks does string changes, right? Or additions,
which includes everything, additions, deletions, you name it. If it's changed, they parse the files for it, and it is not in there, which means that this is it was not in the files for whatever reason. It's in the game. It might be fully server side.
Is it not interesting? In the SDE? Yeah. Sorry, what's that, Spot?
Is it not in the SDE, the static data export?
I don't know how often they update that, but it may very well be in there, and that deserves a look.
So weird. Anyway.
So what Afonso is talking about when he talks about Hobo Leaks is a third-party website that compares the old code of Eve with the new code of Eve, and you look for the changes, and there you can pick up hints about what's changing. So you'll see new items enter the game in that report, and that report is usually out before the patch notes are out or anything like that. So you get a hint on where they're going to make some changes, and there is no hint of where these new level 2 missions are. There's 3 of them. Now, the reason this is a big deal is because missions has been a place of great improvement as CCP works on better artificial intelligence or scripting for the NPCs. Missions have completely changed from something that you could just do quietly and relaxed to something that you actually have to sweat and do because the NPCs are so difficult to beat. So it might be interesting to see where these missions are and what type of missions they are. So that's a big change, I think, that's kind of stealth. We'll look out for that. We want to know, and this is what we want to know, the nature of the missions. And if you said they're server side, that's crazy. Like if they're starting to experiment with stuff like that.
All we know is that we don't see them right now in Hobo Leak. So I think Spod said that they could be in the SDE. So I'm going to have to see if that gets updated and maybe parse through it, which seems like a gigantic pain in the ass, but whatever.
Yeah.
Because of the localization issues, most of the missions are on the server. because they'd have to be translated for everyone.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good point.
Well, so actually, not to jump too far ahead, but when I said that I went through 2020 string entries, the vast bulk of it, I would say 90%, were string duplication and orphan deletions. So there was like 100 instances of a single string where it was the same text every time and it just had been pointed to from different places, and they have now deduplicated all of those. And there were orphan strings that were like text strings that were existing for some reason or another that had been pointed to in the past and now had nothing pointing to them. And they designed some scripts over the past few weeks, and I've been watching these changes on Singularity, and now it has been deployed to Tranquility, and they have removed an ass ton of strings that just don't need to be there, and they're compacting database, cleaning things up. This is general, just good data hygiene, and it's good that they're doing this, and they're not even telling us about it. They're just doing it.
Now, Kanaka says, now missions are easy to program and make a bot. Now, this is a high priority for CCP to remove bots. They're totally going to war on bots, and they have for the last year. So I think missions are going to look a bit different in the future as they make things less bottable. If missions were bottable, the nature of missions is going to change. So it will be interesting to see where this lands. All right, shall we go
The most
on?
likely explanation is there will be story tie-ins. So your friend Ashtarothi
might stumble upon them. Fonsway or
Oh,
Ashtarothi.
yeah, he and I are going to sync up on this for sure.
Good. Let us know what you find. Okay, user interface. This is something, Spod, that you liked but didn't like the position of it. A collapse all button has been added to the regional market window, asset window, and bookmark window.
For the tree.
Yeah, Spod, you're okay with that one?
It's nice. It's just I keep clicking on it by accident.
Yeah, I thought that was funny. It is in a weird place. It's to the left of a search box, which and the icon is really rudimentary. So, but know that you
triggered
can.
my UX sensors.
Yeah, if you can, if you get too deep into the weeds, you can just collapse all the categories, and you'll figure it out. It's a little UI change that is really helpful to kind of clean things up and get you reset. It's just the button's in a weird little place. It's not even a button; it's a little graphic.
It was absolutely required after they sort of stealthily updated. I'm not sure how long ago, but they changed it so when you view the market data on an item, it opens up that tree on the left and then it stays open. So if you were looking through a lot of items, you could end up with quite a large tree.
Yeah, half the time is tree maintenance, basically collapsing things, opening things.
This is a lot less clicks now.
Yeah, well, you get a reset. You get a full reset.
You're about to come up on a Talking In Station's officially reported bug fix. I'll tell you when you get there.
Okay, gameplay. Now we're getting into, so those are the features, by the way. We just finished the features, and it took only an hour. But now we're going to get to some fixes, and this is why we cover fixes as well. A lot of changes to the game happen in the fixes. And for instance, that wormhole change that completely changed the nature of wormholes was a bug fix, right? So that's where it would have been listed. So you have to look at this as well to try to figure out where some of them is just maintenance and good fixes that needed to, things that were broken, but sometimes they change something in a way that makes it work differently. And that's what's interesting here. Okay, so gameplay fixed an issue with Mission Shipyard, which occasionally didn't drop mission items. That seems like a clean fix. Fixed issue that could cause the user to be unable to use the radial or right-click menu to control structure fighters. It's incredibly specific. Audio and graphics.
I'm all for specific bug fixes.
Yeah, those are. I always like audio stuff. It's half the game for me is audio as well. So adjust the fog intensity in various scenes. Well, that's interesting.
Yes, thank you.
That's actually really nice that they actually are going, and they don't even. This implies that they went both ways. Some were tuned up and some were tuned down, which means they just did an overall balancing pass.
You remember the old fog in missions where you could see the grid and it was like an X? Like you could see how they built the graphics sometimes, especially if you're in potato mode. That was pretty funny. So
Potato mode reveals all sins.
Anton says, I reported that so many times, so good on you. Okay, another thing is fixed an issue that caused sun flares to display incorrectly in certain circumstances while using the tactical camera. Fixed an issue with Stargate's particle VFX being modified to nearby player ships, or modified by nearby player ships.
So player ships were changing what Stargates looked like.
Yeah, that's wild. That
sounds
reminds
cool.
me. One of the things that I thought was very imaginative was that these Titans, when they were first launched into the game, were imagined as monstrous ships, gigantic ships. For instance, an Erebus is the size of New York City or Manhattan Island, right? Or even bigger. And that these ships were so big and so dense that they would affect the gravity of planets that they would orbit. So this,
like they were barred from entering certain solar systems and stuff, or being near planets.
Yeah, where there were populations.
By this
They took the first Titans, like the ones we have are smaller, but the Gen 1 Titans took like the entire resources of a moon forever, permanently. Like the moon was just stripped bare, and now you had a Titan.
Wow. So the idea that ships could affect objects like a Stargate, that's what that reminds me of. Anyway.
This is the one, Matterall. This
Okay.
is the certified talking in stations fix.
All right. Well, we don't take credit for any fixes, so don't blame us.
No, it was reported here, and there was a CCP employee in chat that said, "Yeah, thanks for that. We're gonna take care of it."
Well, that's all you guys. Good job. Fixed an issue that prevented different music tracks from playing in the different tiers and dungeons in a business
the last
space. Okay, here's the last one. Fixed an issue that displayed Vital Shift Ego skin lines on the Garista's Victory skin for the K-Man. That's hyper specific. Wow.
Yep. It's hyper specific because someone pointed it out on stream, and we pulled it up and looked at it, and they were like, "Yep, we're gonna take care of that."
Good job. And that shows you CCP is watching this stuff and listening to you guys and being aware of what you're doing. So good on them. Localization. Now, localizations, for those that don't know, are different languages. So you can play the game in your local language. And they have about 5 languages. Remove tier side modules from variation tabs. Don't know what that is. PvE.
Well, that's what I said that was the bullet point in the wrong place earlier. Like this should have been with all the tier side stuff.
Okay, I don't know why they put it in localization. It's the only thing.
Because it came out of the localization files.
Right. Okay.
I wonder if the number separator thing is also in there somewhere. They seem to have a problem with that.
Now, there is a very small change that affects things tremendously, right? That European, the way they use numbers and the way Americans use numbers is different.
Yeah,
you mean the separator dot comma?
3 times they've made a mess of things because they didn't make sure that they worked on both EU and US numerator.
So I'm just going to read this from DGA Trick. I've noticed for the last week that combat sites in HiSec escalations chance dropped significantly. Does it get ninja nerfed?
My answer to that is the same, and not to sound overly glib, but this is just a good example. My my anti-dinosaur charm is working really well because I haven't seen any dinosaurs. So causation is not correlation. I would suggest that for a week you don't have enough data because the numbers you don't have enough of a data set to determine.
Okay. Technical. This may go on for a while, but let's see. Let's see here. Restricted in-game log viewer to show only appropriate logs. This is something for you, Spot, I guess. These are technical changes. And the second one is fix rare issue where help pointers could cause the game to crash when realigning.
Oh, the new help pointer system.
Yeah.
The log ones, like an old exploit that used to exist. One of the ones was where you could analyze the logs and see when somebody was cloaked on grid with.
That the cloak one was a huge one, and that's exactly what this made me think of. But wasn't that particular one fixed?
It was, but I think this one will be something
Right, similar to
but
that.
they don't want to announce what exactly it was.
That is exactly the smell that I got off of that as well.
I should know this name, Urshlag. I know that name.
Means Alpha Strike.
Okay, thank you for that raid of 100 people. Hopefully they stick around. We're going through the end of patch notes now. We're into the technical details, seeing if we can find any little treasures.
Yikes.
Yeah, Urshlag does a lot of PvE in the mornings. Well, in the Eastern Time mornings. He's super cool and super chill, and everybody should watch him.
Yeah, I do watch him. I know that name, but I don't know his character's name. Is it the same? I think Ashrathi told me about him.
If you just want to watch a really nice guy do really cool things
right.
in EVE, you should watch Urshlag.
That's right. That's right. I remember him, and thank you for that great raid. That was huge. Glad you have that many fans. Okay, tutorial changes. We can go through these real quick. Fixed an issue which would cause players to get stuck in the tutorial. That's a problem. That's fixed. Minimizing a window now counts towards the completion of any tutorial task which requires a window to be closed. Okay, that's extra credit. That's extra credit for those new students. User interface changes. Here's where we'll see some stuff. Let's go through this really quick. Fix the filtering and shared bookmark folders for the admin access search, as it is not treating excluded membership correctly. What the heck is that?
I'm trying to remember exactly what this is.
What Lichgrave is going to tell us about is how this unmesses one of the worst interfaces in the game.
I mean, well, yeah, but...
Be specific. Okay, we can move on. Think about it. Fix an issue where skill points awarded for signing up via a referral link are described as having been purchased in the NES.
That's interesting.
That's neither here nor there for me. Fixed an issue that caused the hamburger menu on the market orders window to disappear when merged with other windows. I never ran into that. Fixed an issue where dragging a ship into the fitting screen sometimes does not load the fit. Didn't run into that. Fixed an issue that caused the congrats screen, which occasionally did not display when seasonal campaign is over for alpha accounts only.
I did notice that, yeah.
Okay, fixed an issue where pointer anchor for redeem items had disappeared. That's too bad. You want to be able to redeem those items. Fixed an issue that caused a momentary appearance and disappearance of an 8th circle in the circles representing turret mounts. Oh, funny.
Whoa.
Yeah, fixed an issue that prevented special characters from being used in exact type. A lot of these seem like very, very small fixes so far. Fixed an issue where indication text is grayed out after canceling warp. These are not UI changes. These are UI fixes. So they're basically problems that people picked up that are being fixed. Not anything that's too dramatic here. If you haven't seen these problems, this whole section doesn't mean anything to you. We'll finish up anyway.
That singularity radiation converter issue is very, very weird.
We'll get to that next. Fixed an issue where timestamp checkbox and today button can be hidden by resizing the calendar internal borders. Now here's the one you're talking about. Fixed an issue where phrase/item singularity radiation converter cannot be posted into multi-buy.
So that's a Triglavian salvage item, and when those were added, that missed one of its database entries. So if you dragged it into a multi-buy, then the multi-buy ignored that item, and then you bought it, and you couldn't make the thing that you were trying to make because you didn't buy the thing you needed to buy.
Oh, that is a problem. Yeah. Now the reason
that's fixed now.
Yeah. Well, it was a problem. So if you're trying to buy something with that ingredient and you have the recipe for it, I'm speaking in very basic terms here, you could hit a button and say, buy me all the ingredients I need to make this thing. And that thing wouldn't show up. Therefore, as Francois just said, you couldn't make the thing you wanted to make until you went out and manually bought the item yourself. That's a pain. I'm glad they fixed that. fixed an issue where hovering over a price per unit icon inside the multi-buy window will not show a tooltip. So now it will show a tooltip, which is what it should do. Fixed an issue where inventory was missing from a pointer window. Don't know what that is. Removed a redundant save location option for structures and deployables in sell items window.
The pointer window, I think, refers to the help pointer, and you couldn't point at inventory. Now you can.
And fixed an issue where highlighted numbers could not be deleted or replaced in some fields. I think I might have run into that.
So that's an outcropping of the automatic separator edition that messed up a bunch of text field stuff. So we're finding, this again, changes reveal all sins. So like all those text fields that were poorly coded now are breaking and getting fixed. So this is kind of a good thing.
Yeah. Fixed an issue where setting any number lower than 0 on a Starbase attack settings would set the value to -10.
Oh boy.
Yeah, that sounds kind of serious.
I wonder how we ran into that one.
No wonder they
There's a story behind that.
Yeah, only they're so vicious. Fixed an issue where it was impossible to save values in the in-game calculator.
Another text field. The next three are all text fields.
Okay, so fixed an issue where the up arrow would not work when navigating through the history of the text or number field. Inserting more than 13 characters in a character bounty fields no longer fails. What does that mean? You can put a gigantic bounty on someone?
Not anymore.
So no. So it says that failed before.
Yeah.
Like you were supposed to be able to do it, and what it appears is that the text field changes broke that ability, and they have now restored it.
Yeah. So somebody is Crispy Glorious is saying, what about the red dots? What do we know about the red dots?
Apparently they are here to stay.
Yep. Sorry.
Sorry. The red dot virus has not yet been cured.
It's gonna take a while.
The red dot virus.
It'll take out the old and infirm.
I thought they were going to add a suppression for people who wanted to suppress the red dots.
Gosh,
guess
who
not.
knows? We're not. But we are specifically going to not talk about it.
I think when we interviewed Muppet Hunter, didn't they bring that up? Because we asked
They
them.
might have.
Yeah,
That's like a 4-hour interview, so we'll have to go back and scrub the footage.
I really appreciate how you pause before saying Muppet Hunter, because I know exactly what you're thinking.
Okay. So let's go back. We finished the patch notes. We went through everything. We talked about every section. It might have been a little confusing as we sorted out some things, but we gave you additional insight to the patch notes, not just reading them and understanding what they are, but giving you insight in how it's used and how variations of use affect the game. Hopefully you got something out of today.
Do you want to look at Hobo Leaks, or is that too much?
Yeah, we could look at Hobo Leaks. I mean, at this point, but I want to first give summaries to people or any additional information you guys have or thoughts on this patch. What do you think of this patch? We'll start with Fonsue.
I mean, it's fairly routine, this one. It's a lot of stuff that we already knew, essentially. This is just codifying it, making it official. So now all the things we hated, we can officially hate. And, all the things we liked, we can officially like. It's now official. The stuff we knew is now here.
Caleb, are you still there?
Oh, yeah, I'm still here. I'm still having a great time. Okay, in the longer version, many of the things, and I'm sure that you might remember some of them, many of the things that I was excited about and talked about before the moon changes and when structures started being launched in a proper way in HiSec, all of the things that I was hoping for, and I'm pretty sure CCP was also hoping for, never really happened because the changes were not enough to cause that behavioral change. This might actually start doing that because we're getting things like the separation of which type of player when it comes to markets, where the different markets are supposed to go. We will I hope, see the proper price wars between structure owners. We will see a massive increase in their profitability. Basically, structure owners like TTT are going to make a lot more money, and they will have a whole new range of things that they can do. They can do different prices on different services. They can do loss leaders. They can do bulk deals. All of the things that were supposed to happen, right? So now if they also fix moons to actually be balanced right and compared with anomalies and the whole where we source raw materials, if that hits a really good spot, we're going to see a lot more interesting gameplay in EU. And that will eventually also lead to things like conflict, like even internal conflict, pressure points, existential threats, all the things that have been kind of lackluster or even lacking completely over the past 3 to 5 years. I know that some things are already happening out in Null, but I'm expecting to see a lot more. And even though this feels a little bit like a boost and a benefit mostly to goons, on the long term, as even Nom Nom said on the Meta Show, that's not really the case. Everyone will be challenged, including goons.
Yeah, welcome to Cable. He'll talk when he has a mic.
Whenever you're ready, like I already went through the whole Hobo Leaks thing, so I found where all the fun parts are, and I can burn through the rest of it.
Okay, so if we have no other, anybody else have any comments, final comments on the patch notes for March?
Oh, can we just give a small shout out? I think it might be Kako that made a nice collapsible button, because that is amazing. Thank you very much. Quality of life thing for market people.
CCP.
We can generally assume, like, whenever anything small and nice happens, that it belongs to Karker, and CCP is free to correct us and tell us if someone else gets credit, but we're going to assume it's Karker.
Karker, super nice. If you get a chance to meet her in real life, she's very quiet but very nice, as a lot of CCPers are. Thanks for all the hard work. You can see a lot of good cleaning and interesting changes have come through in March. I think this is a big patch. It's routine only because we read about it a few weeks ago, but it's now here, so we're going to see how it starts to affect things. What's great is that we don't all know how it's going to affect things. Some people think it'll slow down the economy. Some people think it'll make marketeering an actual profession in the game where you have to get good at it. And it's going to be interesting to see where things go. Okay, so let's move on then to a little bit more. We have some bonus stuff. Francois, you want to talk about what you've seen on Hobo Leaks?
Sure. Before I get into that, I just wanted to ask Caleb how he feels about the entire, like, let's say the past 4 weeks, between what's been patched to Singularity that we've been able to see, what's been talked about, and the communication culminating in the patch notes and everything. Are you happy with the past 4 weeks in general? Do you feel like that's a positive direction, or not enough, or what?
I think everything direction-wise that I've been seeing, even the things that's actually hit and been implemented, are fairly good, and it's really showing a good direction of the game. But I think the rollout sequence is potentially wrong, because if you hit the game with too much change in sequences and in patches that are too big, you're going to mess up your data points, right? You're not going to be able to conclude, okay, we did this, then we got this, this is why we got it. No, you can't say that, because you've messed with too much. So a great example is when someone like Dunk talks about the slowing down of the markets. Well, if we then see this happening, he can then claim that it was the market thing. I would oppose that and say it's not the market, it's the mineral changes, if anything, because the market is pretty much going to be concluding the same amount of deals per day as it did in the past. There's not going to be much change except for the price finding mechanisms. So that's not slowing down. So this is, again, one of those examples where you need to roll things out in the right order to get data that you can then use to go back and say, we fixed this, this, and this. But I think from listening to Rattati and Muppet Hunter and hearing even Aerith applaud Hilma and one of the other guys on the Eco team, I think we're really getting into some really good things for EVE Online. I think they might have just saved it for another decade.
Yikes! Look at that.
Yeah.
Turned you around.
Do you feel like they warmed us up right? Like they took us to dinner and everything first before the patch notes hit?
No, they didn't. They completely pulled down our pants and gave us a reach around. It's like, this is way too fast.
Hold on, guys.
Okay.
Let's just say he gave you flowers. How about that?
I didn't see any flowers.
All right, because like I don't know, the feel that I got was like everything, every change that I saw was like, okay, yeah, got it, knew it.
Yeah, I think that the details is what's going to be interesting. How are they going to do the details in the next patches and balance changes? Because I heard Rattati say negative feedback so many times now that now I want to see him actually do that. Do these actual feedbacks hit the actual server? How is he going to do it? How is he going to tie each of the different variables to the other variables so we get this new normal where volatility is actually created by player activity and you can't spreadsheet everything anymore?
Well, thank you for that. I'm hoping to get to a place where you're as happy with that as you are with the market changes. We'll see. So let's burn through some hobo leaks.
Yeah. Do we have something to look at, or do you just
yeah, so you can pull it up, and I'll just tell you to scroll down and skip stuff, basically.
This is territory I don't like. I consider it gray market.
Okay.
What's it called? Hobo Leaks?
HoboLeaks.space.
Funsui, give him a link, please. Just give him a link.
Yeah,
I got it.
HoboLeaks.space. That's it.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, and then and you're going to see 4 drop-down menus, and you're going to click the second one that says TQ revisions, and you're going to go to the very top item that says 1678293 to 1683031, the top one.
Got it.
So the first thing says new items 43 entries. That's a whole bunch of this weak blah 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 stuff, Amarr stuff, elite blah 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 stuff, and exalted Amarr stuff. And they're in the group retaliating Amarr entities. This is the group of NPCs that that is used for the invasion stuff. The Triglavian invasion flashpoints are the first the observatory flashpoint sites, which are the top end site, which drops the most stuff, has NPC dreadnoughts that you kill. That site has these NPC groups in it, retaliating X Empire entity. So there are new Amarr rats of 3 levels that are being added, and we don't know what for.
In the future.
They're in the game, they're in the code. We don't know if we're going to see them. We have no idea when and where these are going to be used. The only speculation I have is that there will be a new site coming. As far as I know, there's definitely a new site coming.
Could this be related to 3 new missions?
Those are level 2 missions, and this is invasion stuff. Okay. I don't think these cross over. Yep. All bets are off. You could be dead on, and I could be wrong, but I would bet against that if you ask me. Because retaliating Amarr entities means invasions.
Yeah.
So I don't think that we're going to see these yet in game, and the reason, and I could be wrong, but I don't think so. And the reason is we only see Amarr ones, and they're supposed to be all the Empires.
So they're in the code. These are in the code, but they're dormant right now.
Correct. They may not be. There's nowhere for these guys to spawn, as far as I'm willing to bet, essentially. But who knows? Chaos era. So that's my prediction for that. Is there anything else in here that needs? Yeah. So there's some coats, t-shirts. Oh, the what's it called? The Plex for Good t-shirts are in here, aren't they?
Yeah,
or something
right
like that.
Plex
Plex for Good stuff.
Who got one in there?
That's
going to be coming soon. So.
Yeah, so there's Convict posted about that, about how to get your stuff. Yeah, this is a really good thing to talk about. If you donated to Plex for Good, you should be getting an in-game t-shirt. If you donated to Plex for Good indirectly, as in you gave Plex to somebody else, or gave ISK, or gave anything to somebody else, who then donated Plex to Plex for Good via contract to the character in-game on your behalf, so CCP doesn't know about you, then you can send a mail. Can someone post that link in chat that Convict posted? And you can send mail to that character, and they have the instructions for how to get your t-shirt if you didn't donate directly.
Wow, good.
So that's this.
Spot,
So
didn't
that's
you
it.
get one of these?
I've got a couple here.
So these are already
That's
out
cool.
then, right?
I don't know how they're releasing them or whatever, but it's happening right now. Convict just posted about it.
Okay. If someone give me that link, I'll put it up. Okay, so the
Oh, here it is. I got it.
Safeguarder t-shirts.
Plex for good rewards going into chat. There it is.
And that's what they look like.
Yeah, there's a picture on the post. There's a really good, nice big photo right on the post. I linked it in chat.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Really cool.
Yeah.
I think it would have
Alright.
been slightly cooler if it was a ship skin.
So there are skins that were added. I believe that the DED skins, Pacifier, Enforcer,
Pacifier.
Marshal, are the these were the skins that were created. This is if I had to bet, these are the ones that were created for FanFest. I don't know how or if for whatever they'll be distributed, or if I'm wrong about that, but that's my bet. These are the FanFest skins.
The Nurgle ones too.
Next. So the next one, those are the DED ones. So the next one, the Metamateria Exotica skins, there are 4 being added. That's an existing skin line for Triglavian ships, and this makes sure that all the Triglavian ships in the game have that skin. These are premium skins available for Plex in the New Eden store.
Okay. You're right.
Yeah. The next ones, I believe these are premium skins as well. And these are Garista's skins that are yellow and black, and they're that awesome shiny yellow that you'll find on the recently released Galente skins and Caldari skins, the Zento Isideko and the something Combine or whatever it is. Those two have that shiny metallic yellow, and this does too. These are yellow and black. So all you Pittsburgh people enjoy.
That's American football
and there's a
team.
story behind it or something.
Yeah.
So, well, I mean, everything in Pittsburgh is black and yellow. Everything.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. That's
Pittsburgh's
how it is.
a city in Pennsylvania, East Coast. So Helmets Harriers is the name of that.
Yeah,
city.
there's a story behind it. Like, there's some flavor with the Garistas because the Garistas are always assholes and weird and funny and stuff. So there's some story there. But I believe these are premium skins, which means they'll be also available in the New Eden store for Plex. But I'll double check that. Moving on.
Moving on.
I gotta collapse all this stuff.
Me too.
Okay. Traits. This is a fun one. Just one trait. System-wide warp speed bonus. Effect beacon miscellaneous bonus. 2 increase in ship warp speed. So, again, we don't know how or when or where this is going to show up. But there's going to be some fast warping happening.
So it's a system-wide warp speed bonus.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know what kind of system at all.
We have no idea where this is going to show up or when or how or whatever. Like, all we know is that this exists. This has shown up before. We had that. We had a weekend where they turned this on in the past. Thank you, CCP Signal. And now it appears that they are putting it in, perhaps as just now it's permanently in there, so that they can flip that on and off. Sometimes or under certain conditions. Maybe it's going to be something that's always active. Maybe they could just do weekends whenever they want.
Yeah.
And so Azure Canis in chat says, isn't that supposed to relate to invasions? He may very well be right. Who knows? Mm-hmm. Chaos era.
Could also be what Pando says there, the beginning of space weather, where sometimes you're faster, sometimes you're slower, but who knows?
Yeah.
Also, somebody asks.
So who knows?
Enomerus asks, is it a +2 or multiplied by 2?
+2.
+2, right. What's the warp speed? Give us a range of warp speed. How fast does like a shuttle go versus a freighter?
Well, the full range is going to be like, what's a freighter going to do? Like 1 AU per second, I think. I'm probably wrong about that. And the fastest you can do is like a Leopard with high grade ascendancies is going to do like 32 AU per second. Interceptors are going to be, I think, their base of 8. You can get them up to like 14 or 16. Cruisers are going to be 3 unless you buff them. Battleships are. Or cruisers got faster, aren't they? 4 now with the recent permanent change, and then battleships were 1.5. I don't know. Battleships were terribly slow, and now they're only kind of slow.
Now they're faster, yeah. Well, Victor asks, is it +2 AU or is it +2%? And it's actually a rating system.
I believe it's going to be if I had to bet, I would say this is going to be +2 AU per second to everything.
Oh,
to the
okay.
base,
Well,
right?
so plus AU to everything.
And again, this is me betting. This is what it looks like to me, to my gut. We can't be certain because I don't have that much code. We only have what's on Hobo League. So if you ask me what I bet this was, I would say this is going to be +2 flat to everything.
Oh, but the warp speed, I didn't actually know this. The warp speed is pegged to AU?
Yeah, AU per second.
Oh, didn't even know that. I just thought it was
For everyone that's unaware, 1 astronomical unit is 1 AU. That represents the distance between Earth and Sol.
So a freighter is 1.37.
1.37. Okay.
Thank you, Ornis.
Yeah. So the distance. So it's an arbitrary unit that we developed, and it's the average distance between Earth and its sun, and we call that 1 astronomical unit, and we use it. Now, of course, scientists today prefers to use parsecs, which is a closely relatable metric, and I forgot how that was derived, but parsecs are what the scientific community prefers now. Anyway. Next up, frigate escape bay capacity under attributes, just 1 entry. This is an easy one. This is another CCP signal. This is a feature that we have talked about before, and what we are seeing is the code deployment, because you'll notice default value none to 0.0. Which means that before it didn't, all of these are none to something. But what's happening is that it's being put in, the concept now exists, and when it comes time to deploy, all they do is change that 0 to a 1. So that's going to, so we had extended downtime. This is why we had extended downtime today, because they did a bunch of stuff like this. And they throw that all in together because it wasn't time to turn the frigate escape bay on, but they didn't want to make us wait more when it was. So they did the work now so that they can flip the button later and not make us do extended downtime. So this is like planning in there. This is scheduling their downtime and grouping it up wisely. What's next? Attributes per type, frigate escape bay stuff, blah, blah, blah. All the tier aside, blah, blah, blah. We don't need to look or care about that. This is all the stuff we already knew. Not important, and nothing. Yep, we can skip all of that entire category. Attributes per type. It's just like, so all the new rats, all the new Amarr rats got their attributes in there. Like, and this one's gonna newt you, and this one's gonna web you, and whatever. So like you can look that up. Like those details are in there. And it's like all the battleships getting no frigate escape bay. that's in there too.
That's right. That's coming a little bit later.
Yeah, so they're getting everything is getting a frigate escape bay with no frigate escape bay. So they could just flip that switch. Next one, effect, that's just the warp speed again, so we can see. Oh, so I don't know. Maybe someone can parse this out to see if it's like +2 or something, and see if we're right or not. I don't care enough. I'm just willing to wait and find out, and bet. But this is just the same thing. This is the warp speed thing. Effects per type. Yeah, this is the rats getting their attributes. Skip that. Strings. So 2,000 strings. We're not going to go through 2,000 strings. We're just going to tell you the groupings of what they're about. So this is all the tier side stuff was changed. That's right at the top. There's a couple of the skills changes. The strings were changed. So the market stuff was different now. Then there's going to be like bazillions of. Sorry.
Here's the margin trading skill change name.
Yeah, so that's there, and the description in there is all different, and then you go down and there's like 9,000 just strings deleted, and you'll see it's a bunch of repeating ones a lot of times. So this is the and there's like one colon removed, so it's like the typo, whatever. But mostly this is just removing the deduplication, and removing the orphan strings. So this is just database management, just cleaning things up. Cleaning up the mess, quote unquote spaghetti code. Not precisely spaghetti code, but that concept. Skip, because all this isn't important. It's all the stuff we already knew. Then we're going to get to a little bit of interesting stuff.
What section? Yeah. New files?
We're still in the strings, but we're all the way at the end of the strings, because we skipped we're just cleaning up the database stuff, which is just good. I'm glad they're doing it, but I'm not reading 2,000 strings. there's no need for that. So yeah, so now we're at the part where we're looking at points earned, active challenges, frigate escape bay, open frigate escape bay, blah blah blah, test campaign. So why don't I take a minute to describe the precise mechanics of the frigate escape bay, which I actually tested on Singularity. So the way that this works is, so what it sounds like is like, oh, your battleship gets blown up and now you're in a frigate, which is true. However, if you just eject from a battleship before it blows up, then you're going to be in the frigate that's in the bay, as long as your character is capable of piloting it. Then you'll actually be in that frigate, and then you can eject from that frigate and leave that frigate in space and be in your pod if you want. So figure out how you want to use that.
You can't go straight to your pod.
Yeah. You can't go straight to your pod so you can be in a battleship that doesn't have a frigate in the frigate escape bay, but and then you'll go straight to your pod. But if there is one, it will launch. You cannot control that. So what people have suggested is like you bring, you have two pilots, and one of them is flying tackle, and you have a spare. So that if tackle gets popped, you got another one. So you could do like a hero tackle or something. You could have a choice of two different support frigates for a battleship. You can have a frigate that's designed to protect an expensive pod, so that where you would not use that pod in the battleship before, now you get to use that pod because there's a chance of actually getting it out, et cetera, so on and so forth. Many other things can be done, in a fleet battle. A fleet of battleships becomes a fleet of, I don't know, ECM frigates, and screw you. Like, who knows? So that's what the frigate escape bay does. So it's being added. This is the text. We know what it does. Next.
And that's actually later this month, but it's still this month.
Yeah. So what they've done. So CCP Signal is actually out on parental leave. He's a new dad. So he has he built a lot of content that was going to be released while he was away. So he set it up and staged it in such a manner that it can be implemented without him actually being there, which is extremely responsible and thoughtful of him. So thanks for that.
Whoa. Let me stop you for a second here, but kill 10 NPCs for 50,000 skill points.
Man. Jumping the gun.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I jump that?
No. That's literally like right where we were about to get to. Okay. So, so what's it called? So then you see active challenges, event dates, earn numeric points, blah blah blah, complete challenges, unlock rewards, all this stuff. So this is stuff that this is the agency. The agency event mechanism. So like remember the events that we got points for, like the Secrets of the Abyss and the Minmatar Liberation Day and the Rogue Drones, Rogue Drone Swarm or something, whatever it was called. Mm-hmm. So those events where you collected points and you got rewards, and then that bar filled up throughout the 2 weeks of the event, 14 days, I believe is what it usually was. So that mechanism, it looks like it's coming back. They may be doing this again. And I kind of like those events, so they may put a twist on it. But whatever it is, they're grabbing that mechanism and making it active, or moving it around, or doing something with it. And we have no idea what they're actually doing. But they're poking that code and not deleting that code. So obviously they intend to do something with it. So expect some events coming, I guess, in the next few months. We had Exuki's talking about, how the next 3 months are going to be really awesome, how the rest of 2020 is going to be really awesome. We could be seeing the framework for that being put into place now with this. What is next? So then what you were saying, so kill NPCs, blah, blah, blah. So that's what we know about. We know about the skilling spree, which is kill 1 NPC, get 10,000. Kill 5 NPCs, get 25,000 skill points. Kill 10 NPCs, get 50,000 skill points. That happens once a day, every 24 hours, resets at downtime, and you get a random one per character per day. Do it or don't. That's what we've been seeing. What we're about to see, however, is, are we going to get to that here, or is that lower down? I guess that's lower down. Let me get to that. Yeah. Oh, yeah. See, that's okay. I see where you were.
It takes a while for you to see it.
There's just so much to, and I'm really glad I went through this earlier today. Okay, here, skilling is just a means. So that's this. So this is the event that's happening. Let me grab the link, and that's going to happen in 2 days on the 12th for a month.
Yep. Doesn't start today. It starts in 2 days. On the 12th.
Yeah. If someone has the link, I'd appreciate it. I didn't.
I'll grab it.
Oh, here I got it. There we go. Yeah, so March 12th to April 14th, daily events, going to give us points for doing PvP stuff. Shoot some players, right? Sure. Shoot some players, get some skill points. This is a twist on the skilling spree that we've seen before, where it was kill NPCs. Kind of boring. I mean, hey, I'm not complaining about the skill points, but this represents a stark change. This represents a very stark change because I personally operate 3 omegas and who knows how many alphas, and I'm sure that people operate many, many more than that. But when we were getting all these skill points every single day, I felt very compelled to log in. And it was kind of onerous. And I felt like any character that I didn't log in and do the skilling spree on, I was throwing free skill points away, and it's something you shouldn't do. And it kind of felt like World of Warcraft dailies, to be honest, and I kind of felt dirty about it. Didn't really like it. So yes, I'll take the skill points. Yes, thank you. But this is different because when I have to get what we're about to see, as soon as Matt all gets back, what we're going to see is that there are 2 specific tasks that have actually been published now. I'm going to bring them up and read them, so Matt all can bring them up in a minute.
Minor aside, while we've got a second,
Sure.
I found where the mission information is. I'm just trying to find what it is.
I'm sorry, say again?
I found the files that contain the mission information. I'm just trying to find.
Oh, awesome! In the SDE?
No, it's in the language files. There's a lot in
in the .pickle files?
Yep, and it's an absolute nightmare to figure out what's what. So
I went, oh god. So the pickle files are the ones that had all those string deletions, the 1,000, the 2,000, whatever, the 1,500 string deletions, that came out of the pickle file.
Yeah, there's a lot of
all right.
So quite a lot of additions there.
So the 2 tasks that have been published for skilling is just a means is kill 1 capsuleer, frigate, or larger, 10,000 skill points. The other one is kill 1 faction warfare complex defender NPC, 10,000 skill points. So one of them is kill a player in a frigate or bigger. The other is go to a plex and maybe get into a fight. And both of those are 10,000 skill points. So we don't know if there are going to be more, or if this is going to be it, or if it's going to be you're going to get one or the other every day, or maybe you'll get both every day, and you can get 20,000 skill points a day, and these are the 2 things you can do. Who knows? We don't know how they're going to implement it. But what I like about this is that that's more effort. That's more work. Like even logging in my alt and killing my alt, like that's more work than going and just killing an NPC. Like I no longer feel compelled because then I have to make the frigates and fit the frigates and I lose them every day, and that's not about the ISK, it's just the pain. And some people are going to do it, sure, and that's okay, because I think that some people are going to log in and kill a player, and that's exactly what this is meant to do. So I'm happy that the skilling spree is changing, because it felt kind of oppressive before. Even though I loved all those skill points, this feels like it's more meaningful to do. It'll be more fun, and it'll foster fights, like actual players killing each other, which is kind of what we're supposed to be doing to begin with. I think that covers everything. Let me get to the very end. Oh, there's the files. Do I care about this? I was going to go over this with Ash. I haven't really looked at it much. But yeah, I'm pretty much done. I got out what I needed to get out.
Those first few .wem files are some sort of spooky
Audios.
music. I have to listen to them. There's nothing that interesting. It's just spooky background music.
Oh, you know what that is? That's in the patch notes. That is, hang on. Fixed issue that prevented different music tracks from playing in the different tiers and dungeons in Abyssal Space.
It sounds exactly like spooky Abyssal music, so that sounds right.
I love matching this stuff up to the patch notes. It's fun. I know. I'm a gigantic nerd.
What are we on? New files?
No, we're done. We're good. Okay. We did it. We got to all the way to the end, man.
We did it, team.
I got us home.
Thank you. All right. So those are the changes.
Like within the past 30 seconds.
Oh, good. So it's perfect timing. All right. Looking at big kills. Let's see what's going on. Oof. I thought there would be more stuff from Scary Wormhole people's area.
Oh, but... one point that just came out of chat. That's a super, super good point that I have made in the past. 10,000 skill points is like 60 million ISK for a veteran player. That's just that because an injector is really expensive if you're over 80 mil. And so this is really, every little bit of SP that you get for free is worth more the more SP you already have. So this is actually really, really nice.
Yeah, that's a good point. I hadn't thought of that. Okay, so let's just wrap up because we got to go. I have to go. Thanks, Fonsway, for taking us through some of the stuff that's actually on inside the code. You too, Spod. That's all we have today for patch notes for March 2020. We will obviously be talking about market stuff in the future, as this is one of the big components of this change. Look for stuff that's not in these patch notes yet to appear later this month, and that is killing is a means of communication, and that is experience points for PvP kills. That starts in a couple days. Also, look for frigate escape bays, so you can jump out of your essentially ghost riding, if you remember that, from your battleship.
Yeah, just lock up your battleship if you're not sitting in it, people.
Yeah, that was a component of ghost riding. For those that don't know ghost riding, does anybody know it?
Oh, you told the story before.
I did.
You like doing it. You should do it again.
Okay. Well, somebody else can say it better than I can. But ghost riding was really cool. It was this technique that was used that scared the heck out of super pilots. Like if somebody was in first of all, super ratting wasn't really a thing like 2 years ago. Nobody ratted in their super. It was ridiculous. If you were ratting in a dreadnought, you were yelled at for being an idiot and tempting people to come and kill you because it was so dangerous. This is before the concept of super umbrellas to protect you and all that kind of thing. So what would happen though, if somebody were to do a drive-by, that's what they used to call it, when you would drop on somebody alone on your super and destroy them and then try to get out before you could get caught. And that happened a lot. That was the kind of way you would lose a super if you were to do a drive-by and then get caught by somebody and all that. So anyway, when you were in your super and you heard there was a ghost rider around, you were terrified because ghost riders were people in a carrier that would jump in. So you didn't see them coming. They would jump in, they would jump out of, they would launch their tackling ship and jump into their tackling ship, abandoning their carrier, and they would use the tackling ship, the Hick actually, it wasn't just a tackling ship, it was a Hictor, to tackle your super, and that would hold you pinned. And what they would do is they would also scram their carrier, which means that the empty vessel that's sitting there was actually, what is it, scrammed so that
it's if you lock it.
Oh, just locked. Okay.
Yep. Any unpiloted ship that is in space that is locked by anyone or anything,
target locked,
cannot be boarded. Yeah, cannot be boarded.
So they were protecting their...
sorry, except by the official owner. The owner of that, the last person to sit in that ship can get back in it if it's locked. No one else can. Yeah.
So on the one hand, they're holding their ship that's vacant. They're holding it secure. They're in a tackling ship, and now they've got you harpooned. And now they're calling their friends. And so that ghost rider just tackled you in a super by himself, and you didn't see him coming because he jumped in. He didn't go through gates. And that's what ghostwriting was. And it was incredibly effective. I think it was pioneered by Pandemic Legion. If not, it was used by them a lot. I think Black Legion probably did too. So that's what ghostwriting was. And so now you have a variation of ghostwriting with these battleships.
Yeah. So now instead of a capital and a hick, you have a battleship and a frigate.
Yeah. So it won't work.
Mind you, it can't be. So here's the restriction: no Tech 2 interceptors, no Tech 2 co-ops. So the interceptors, which you want to use for tackle, and you can't. So I'm not sure what people will end up using. Assault frigates are not very fast, but you can kind of make them fast. Probably they'll still work. They're also very hardy. That's one option. Another is a Dramiel or a Daredevil.
Yeah, the faction variety of frigates works.
Yeah, the Dramiel and Daredevil are both exceedingly fast.
Well, it's
Succubus. Succubus is stupid fast too.
Yeah. Well, it depends. The more expensive the ship, the I don't know. The way that this new escape bay plays out has yet to be seen. But the idea is that the momentum in battles could go one way or another, or this could be used not in big battles, but in small battles. And again, it's fight or flight is the name of the feature, which means you can take your ship, you can take your frigate and escape easier, or you can help your friends, or you can re-attack. You have a second chance with that little ship. It's a very interesting
so Cricket
thing.
Gaming in chat said that you do ECM / Logi for battleship fleets, which we can interpret in multiple different ways. He says Goons already use frigate Logi. So now you can have your frigate Logi and a backup frigate Logi.
Yeah.
You can have ECM stored and Logi on the field, you know, and swap as needed, or you can have Logi on the field, and then when the battleship dies, you have an ECM frigate and frigate Logi on the field, and screw everybody else.
Yeah, and this is just so interesting for people who watch battles, because you can see a battle used to go one way, but now you might see momentum swing the other way. As more DPS gets destroyed, more logistic capability gets launched into space and starts to get used. So it'll be interesting. I don't know. I mean, theoretically, it's interesting. I don't know if practicality will bear out. You know?
This is not a feature that's going to change the face of the game forever in every way. This is a feature that's going to change certain things sometimes in very hilarious ways.
Yeah, and I agree with Anton there that smart bombs are going to start chewing up those little frigates. So you probably have a high slot reserved for smart bombs on some of these battleship fleets.
But that still informs both strategy and tactics. This change now this change now changes how people fit their ships and fit their fleets, if that is the case.
Yeah. Also, smart bombs destroy your own guys too, so you have to be pretty careful about this. Okay, I've seen NC pilots. This one guy was kind of funny because he would use a smart bomb to try to get on all the kill mails. So he would smart bomb like crazy, and we'd lose a bunch of tackles and scouts and stuff. And people would be like, "Why are you smart bombing? You're killing our own guys just so you can get on kill mails."
That is classy.
Yeah. Anyway. All right, guys, thanks for watching. We are going to stop for the day. So this is a long show today. We're going to go ahead and leave you with Jebby again, since he seems to be doing some cool stuff. Thanks for the raids earlier. As Urslos, I always say it wrong. Urschlag. And thank you guys.
Alpha Strike in German.
Oh, okay. And I want to thank you guys in here for helping me out. Caleb Lichgrave, you, Fonsui, and Spod, and everybody else. Okay, everybody, thanks. Appreciate it. This is your patch note edition. It was extra long. We'll be back tomorrow. Until then, we'll see you later.